Good day to everybody in TV land. This is Historic Point Boss Update, and this is Mike Hittner along with Tom Bramer.
Good morning.
Good morning to everybody out there. At least we're recording this in the morning. So we would like to talk about our next event at the site, and that's our historic Point Boss Festival, our Living History Festival. It's kind of our original one, Tom, I think. 32 years now, so
I think.
We've been doing it, and it's kind of to bring attention to our site when we didn't have our site developed. And it's just grown from that point, and now it's different crafters, and we have a cooking contest, and we have all kinds of different events on the site, and we're going to go through that for you today to let you know what it's like. But it's a lot of fun. We met last night working just on menu for the food, and maybe start with food, Tom. People, they're probably getting hungry, their stomachs are growling, and let's talk a little bit about what we talked about last night.
One of the things we've been kind of noted for is fry bread.
Yes.
We've been doing that since,
Day one, I think.
well, not quite.
Or the Lions did
2 or
it.
3.
Yeah.
No, they didn't. We started doing it, but the first couple years, the Port Edwards Lions, or 3 years, I think, Port Edwards Lions did our food for us because we didn't have enough people. But we've done fry bread for a long, long time. We're going to do bratwurst and hot dogs, which are always favorite with the kids and most everybody. We're going to do a Sloppy Joe barbecue, which is easy to serve and easy to sell, and it's good.
And people like it.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know.
And
it's
we got
the
a
thing.
new one this year.
We have a new one. We have
Wild game.
wild game Italian meatballs, and they're going to be like on a hoagie roll with sauce and mozzarella cheese on them. Something different. It's we were able to get some wild game to serve, and got the wild game permit from the state.
And I have your license in the car.
Good. Well, you keep it so we don't lose it. But we've got that the wild game permit from the state. We're going to do baked beans. We're going to do pickle on a stick. We're going to do chips and other things like that. And
What about dessert?
dessert, there's going to be cookies and other homemade desserts.
By members.
Yeah, by members. And then they'll be like 50 cents. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not a big deal. It's and there's going to be some strawberry shortcake.
Oh, I like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And lemonade, homemade lemonade.
Yes.
And make it your home lemonade.
Yeah, my homemade lemonade.
Yeah.
And soda. We have
Yep.
3 varieties of Stevens Point Brewery's
Soda.
and then we have water, of
Yep.
course, for
Yep.
people that just want water and
Yep.
don't. We had requests, folks, in the past for like some diet sodas, so I think we tried it one year and we sold so little of it that water is diet, basically.
Yeah,
So,
and actually, if it's really hot, that's
water hits
good
the
for
spot.
you anyway.
Yeah, water hits the spot.
So that's what we worked out last night. The details are still coming, but we've got a good group of people already lined up to serve the food, so it should work really quickly. Jackie and Dan, who are in charge of it, are in charge. I mean, they're on top of this.
Yes,
They've got
yes,
that pretty
yeah,
well worked out.
yeah.
So I'm really happy with that one.
Yeah, that was a big relief for Tom because besides interpreting the cabin, he used to head up the food sort of thing, and every once in a while he'd get called from the food tent about something, and then he'd
The
have to.
fryer isn't working. Well, now they know how to fix the fryer, so we're all set.
So that works out good. But what will you be doing in the cabin, Tom? I think that people at the gate, at least the younger students, will be given a little piece of fur,
Yeah.
a little piece of pelt, and they'll be told to take that to the cabin and work out a
Yep.
deal or something.
Yep, it's something we've done for a number of years now. Is the littler kids, and I would say,
4th grade and under.
yeah. They would get a piece of fur at the gate, and if some of them want to keep it,
Yes, surprisingly.
but they bring it to the cabin, and then we will barter with them. Now we've got some nice hard candy. I already got that too, so we're not.
Good.
I'm
Good.
on
You're
top of my
it,
stuff.
yeah.
We also are doing some colorful beads that we're that they can then take home and string into a necklace or something for themselves. And you'd be surprised the number of those that we use.
No, mostly girls or
Not
both?
necessarily.
Both?
Not necessarily. Sometimes folks don't always want them to have extra candy.
Right, and they already maybe
So-
had plenty at home.
No, that's it, or had some other sweets on the way before they get to the cabin. So it's a good alternative. And it works out. Sometimes we have to do some beads and a piece of candy or two. We got to kind of do this barter thing.
Yes.
But
Well, and I think for a lot of children, unless they have been there with a school group, they really probably haven't done any bartering before to
especially
speak
the
of.
smaller ones. I mean,
Or
it's-
maybe not
yeah.
even heard of it.
Yeah, would you trade with me?
Yeah,
Okay, and of course we have to do the kind of the lingo and try to
get a better price. Or,
right
or-
and do a little bit of and sometimes they give in too easy. So
You-
we like
you
mom
tell
and
them
dad
that
to
too?
kind of mom and dad to kind of let them hold out just a little long.
Yes.
Give them a little coaching here. It makes it fun for
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things that I think the younger set really enjoys. And I think what's nice about it too, Tom, is it makes sure, because you're back a little bit and a little bit hidden when everything grows up, that they get to the cabin. Otherwise,
Right.
sometimes people just keep going and they do the circle of the major buildings and then they think they're done with
Yeah.
it. So,
But we've always had decent signage for our area. And then with the other encampments that are in that back field there,
right.
we get most folks.
Yeah, and what you'll see, folks, if you haven't been out before, is back in the cabin area, in the circle back there. That's where most of the encampments, people actually come in and they're in period clothing and they camp overnight and they portray or they do a trade or a craft or something like that. And that's where most of them will be. Though there's a spillover over towards the warehouse, and then there's a spillover around the apple tree orchards and around the bunkhouse, and then over by the main gate, the driving gate that we don't normally go through with vehicles, certainly for the festival. And then there's a few that are scattered around. There's one in the front yard of the house and things like that. So you got to actually tour the site, and that's why we're having made up maps. When you come in, you'll get handed a map, and on that map will be listed where these different encampments are and what they do specifically. So you know that, hey, if I go here, they're going to do tatting, or they're going to do broom making, or whatever it might be. That place and that location, you can find it. Where in the past it's been kind of, well, go out and find out what's there. This way we got a little more direction for people, which I think is a good idea. I think that people have enjoyed that, finding out. And also we have demonstrations. Say we're going to have tomahawk throwing. We're going to do it from 11 to 12 and 2 to 3. Well, then you know that it's going to be done and where it's going to be done. Where before you'd go in there and you'd miss it, and maybe you couldn't do it anymore that day because it was all done because you didn't know the schedule.
Right.
You would have went there first maybe instead of going to the house or the bunkhouse or one of the other buildings on the site. So also one of our specialities is using our ice that we cut on Nepco Lake during our ice harvest in the end of January, is using that ice for cooling our beverages in the food tent. And also, we chip it up and grind it up, and we use it for making ice cream. Of course, it's around the outside of the container that makes the ice cream, and it just used for cooling. They put a little salt in with the ice, and it freezes down, and the turning process takes some time, and gradually it gets colder and colder and thicker sort of thing. So you can see, and actually the ice also be open there. Usually the people in the 3-bay shed bring out a couple big chunks of ice so they can see what it looks like, and it's already lasted about 5.5, 6 months, and then of course it'll last another 2 or 3 months depending on the weather and how we cover it up. So that's a good demonstration of sometimes what we do otherwise. Also another thing in the food area, and we talked about it last night, you had a little extra and I had a little extra, was some of our sauerkraut that was left.
Oh, yeah.
We make that at the Harvest Festival in the fall. in September. The Giese family does that, and they give us a pail of that, and we had a little bit left, and we're going to use that for putting on your bratwurst or your hot dogs or whatever way you want to dress it up. So it is kind of a nice way of another thing being incorporated in from our site.
From the site, use it, yeah.
Use it
really
sort of
works.
thing. We're trying more and more of that sort of thing to do that. Let me go through just a little list. I don't have names here, but of some of the things that you'll see when you come there. We're going to have a carving horse, shoe shine, alpaca fiber, blacksmiths, spinning and weaving, Dakota teepee, birch bark ornaments, brain tanning, wooden bowls, Dutch oven pie making, and that gal knows how to bake pies, I'll tell you. That's Tom's major competition. But a different category.
I like to have her close by because then they can sample.
Yes. Canoe rides. We have canoe rides on the site. And we're going to do a little something different this year. We talked about it last night, but the canoe rides are quite expensive for us to obtain, and it's on the Wisconsin River, pending the water levels being low enough and that sort of thing. And what we're going to do is have a donation box or something there where you put in, it's suggested $1 for canoe rides, rather than having somebody to sell tickets or do something. We're occupying Tom's time or people in the house's time or somebody else's time to try to sell tickets and everything. And then people sometimes walk by it and don't realize, well, here I can get a canoe ride, but now I got to go back over here and get a ticket. Well, now we're just going to have just a donation box there, and you can get the canoe rides. I think it just simplifies things.
I think it'll make it a lot easier on the participants, and it is a lot easier for us too. So I think all in all, that was
it'll be a good move. Rope making, noggin building, tatting, another tatter, snowshoe making, knitting, flat loom weaving, toys and games. It says Two Tails. I don't know what that game is. Do you know what that game is, Tom?
No.
We're going to have sewing, and we're having a hawk throw, basket making, primitive cooking, muzzle loader, and bullet casting, and tea at two. Now, that's kind of a speciality. Joni Wolf, a local gal, has done this in the past. Now, I think she's been absent 1 year, maybe 2 years.
I think 2.
2 years, and she has tea at two. Now, she does it kind of the English style. So everybody sits down, and she gives you the whole etiquette. She's got the nice little teacups, little tables and chairs, and you sit under a tent, and she goes through it. A whole spiel on this, and she does a wonderful job. She knows all this background and everything, and it's nice to have Joni back because it adds a nice touch. And it's really, she's located right next to the food tent, so the next tent to the food tent, we usually put two of our flies together for her, and we're going to have tea at 2, and she'll do that both days. But you got to remember now, it's tea at 2, so 2 o'clock it starts. It lasts about an hour, and then it's done. So.
It's actually low tea. Now, don't ask me what that means.
Well, I'll tell you what it
Pierre
is.
has never been around, but he wouldn't fit in.
I was in Scotland one time, and we happened to stay at a hotel, and they had low tea means just you're not getting fed as much.
Okay.
You got little finger sandwiches or cookies, and you drink tea. Very kind of English, you know what they are? They're formal. Yeah, you got to have the little finger up if you're going to do it properly, etiquette. But we were there for high tea. And that's like at 4 o'clock. And high tea means you sit down and they got cucumber sandwiches and they got cookies and they pretty good spread. Now this isn't a meal. My kids didn't realize that. They came in there and they're about 8 or 10 or 12 years old, and they ate everything in sight. And the next time we went for high tea, the door was locked, I think maybe 5 minutes early just to avoid us or something, because we cleaned up everything that was around, and we thought it was a meal, but it was, it's kind of an appetizer for your meals, probably at 6 or 7 or something. But high tea is a little more fed to you, but about the same basics with the tea end of it. So it's kind of a nice tradition, and since the Wakeleys are
fun.
English descent, it kind of follows that they probably would have liked tea.
Sure.
Maybe not necessarily high tea and low tea, but they probably would enjoy tea. They're probably too busy to do high tea or low tea. So. But a nice tradition. So that just gives you an idea of some of the things that we'll have there. The garden will be planted. The master gardeners will be there. You can see we got a kind of a new development with a kitchen garden. It's right outside of the back of the house, where a lot of these chives and different herbs that you'd use in cooking which would have been appropriate. The lady of the house would have came out there and clipped off a few things and put it in their recipes. They're developing that garden. And of course, our regular vegetable garden, you can go take a look at that. Now things will be up a little bit. This spring has been a little bit delayed. So everything's going to be probably a little smaller, but they'll have all kinds of things planted in there. The normal things you'd think of, tomatoes and potatoes and beans and peas and different things like that. I think they're growing some broom corn. I don't know if it'll be in there, and tobacco and cotton and a few other things, flax too. But I don't know if it's all going to be in the garden. I think some of this may be grown in different spots depending just where. I think maybe some of this stuff might be grown where the artichokes were actually. I don't know exactly. That was just outside of the fence to the west. But that master gardeners do a wonderful job for our site. You can see their quilt garden over by the schoolhouse, and they got a butterfly garden, and they just multiplied everything. And as Tom and I know, we're very, very thankful for that, because we're okay at planting, but we're really not good at maintaining stuff, folks.
We were in charge of the garden for a couple years, and then they took it away from us because
well, thank God,
it was not good.
Yes, it wasn't. The house will be open for touring. They always have a little something to serve in there and some beverage or something, depending on coffee, maybe in the morning, maybe a tea or something like that, and different things. And of course, it's open for tours, but there's always one or two people in there be doing crafts. So they'll be weaving, or you can go up and see our big loom upstairs. I don't know if it'll be in operation. Probably will be in operation. A great big huge antique loom upstairs takes up half of the north bedroom upstairs when you go up the stairs right to your left. And that's a fascinating thing just to see in itself, being somebody worked on that. I know I was at Sugar Bush, and there was a gentleman, Andy, came over from Heritage Hill, and he was working on, of course, he's an expert at it, and he made it look easy, but I think it's not quite that easy, actually. But I think it's one of those traits that can be learned. But that was entertaining and fun to watch it. And I know a lot of people came there, and they were taking movies and photo shots of it, because it's something you don't see much, folks, especially with the loom this size. It's a huge loom. And then there might be rug weaving, different crafts in there. So you'll see all kinds of things in there, and it'd be well worth your stop. And then when you go out of the front of the house facing the river, of course we call that the front because the Wakeleys came on the river, and that would have been where most people came and went for the first 20 years. And that's where the whip demonstrations will be. Whip will be out, camped out in the front there, and he gets kind of the front yard because he does whip demonstration. It takes up a little space, and he needs space for his demonstrations and everything. Now, just to mention that Whip has been coming, I think, almost every year we've had it. Mm-hmm. I think maybe
missed one or two,
but I mean, basically about 30 years out of 32. So he's one that started with the Northwest Territorial Rangers, a group out of the
Fox Valley, yeah.
Appleton, Kaukauna area, and there was about 6 of them, and they came, and there's 2 of them that have come on a regular basis. Him and Woody have come on a regular basis for 30-some years, so that'll be nice to visit. And then outside of the house, on the back side of the house, the side we approach from now, between the food tent and the house, there'll be another fly up, and they'll be doing soap making or something outside. They'll be doing some kind of a service outside there. And then we go to the bunkhouse. Larry is not a new volunteer, but newer, probably the last 3 or 4 years. And Larry's kind of taken over the bunkhouse as a project for himself, and does a wonderful job. He brings a number of objects that the Sawyers would have used. He kind of portrays a Sawyer kind of passing through or settling in for a little bit of work for Mr. Wakely, and he displays a number of things. You can see his long johns hanging on a line across between the bunks, and it does a nice job in there. So don't forget, that's our latest building, and get a chance to look at that. And then across from that, you got the blacksmith shop, and Kenny Harchie will be in there doing his blacksmithing, and you can hear always Kenny because he bang, 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 and he doesn't hit his fingers, so you don't hear anything else, just the noise of the iron and being pounded.
He does a nice job with
Yes, yeah, he does nice interpretation. And then the 3-bay shed, that's where the ice cream is made, the homemade ice cream. The ice house is in there. There's the Sawyer's Bay on the south side, and that's kind of interpreted. We've got a big ring there that shows kind of What does it
Oh,
show?
the timeline.
Timeline of
Yeah,
the,
we need to work on that too, but
Yes.
it's the timeline in a large log.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see from the rings of the log, the life that happened at Point Bass between when Wakely's came and when the Wakely's died.
okay, so
There's-
approximately about 60 years they're showing.
Yeah, 50-some years that they were living there, and it shows this in a time, and it's interesting.
And it's following the rings of the
the
tree?
rings of the tree, correct?
Okay, and it's kind of nice because it's a great big, I think, pine, right?
Cottonwood.
Cottonwood, and it's about 30 inches across or something. It's a big one.
Very heavy.
Yes. And so you get to see that, and of course we've got all the sawyer's tools. There's usually somebody in there to interpret, and then in the middle is the carpenter shop, and then usually there's one or two carpenters working on some projects in there. I think a couple benches they have worked on in the past, and different projects that just need to be done on the site. So you get to visit with them and interact with them, and then just to the north of that is the barn, and usually Skip or Johan or somebody's in the barn. We're still trying to obtain some animals. I don't know if we'll have anything. Probably, maybe not.
I don't know. It's a little tough right now.
Yeah, a little of the problem with animals, folks, is if you don't know, there's kind of new regulations out, licensing and different things like that. For before we used to
Petting
just
zoos.
Yeah, petting zoos. We used to just pay some person to come down with. He had 3 or 4 animals, a horse. Goat and a couple of sheep or something. They'd come down and just give them to us for the day. We'd kind of watch over them, and then on this particular event, they'd pick them up Sunday afternoon. And you could do that, but then new regulations came out of Madison, good or bad, who knows. But now it's got to have a licensing thing, and it's a little more difficult for these people. I think it's probably more of a liability question than anything.
Yeah,
maybe.
and I think just making sure that it's done properly,
Right.
and which is okay,
Right.
But it doesn't, in our case, doesn't help us a whole lot.
Well, in our case, we're not going to claim poverty, but we don't
No.
have a lot of money, and you can't pay somebody like $400 or $500 to bring animals. It just isn't in our budget for this sort of thing. But if possible, we'll try to get a couple animals there if we can. We had one neighbor that had a chicken, and
He used to live there.
the chicken used to be running all over the site. I think he ended up in the pot, folks. I'm going to tell you the truth.
I think so.
Yeah, but he was always around the site and chasing, and the kids loved it. The kids would come down there, they'd see these chickens, and it seemed very natural. In fact, you and I have talked a number of times about having some guinea fowl or something there that just on the site, the ones that would take care of themselves and roost in the trees and eat ticks, hopefully, and stuff like that.
We'll see. I don't know. That's
So that
Anyway.
the barn will be open, so you'll be able to interpret that. And then when we cross the Wakely Creek Bridge, now we're going backwards. We're going east. You'll get over to the schoolhouse. And the schoolhouse, the master gardeners have their display of their quilt garden and the butterfly garden and the other things that they do over there, which is very interesting. They always bring a lot of quilts too, which is kind of nice. On the railing, we got a handicap access to the schoolhouse. And then there's on the railing, they've got different quilts put up there, and they're very knowledgeable because they make the quilts themselves, so they can talk about quilting and the different patterns and that sort of thing. And then the school teachers will be in there for interpretation, and we hope to have for your information and for your seeing is a short video about, I think it's down to 6.5 minutes, of the Wakeleys coming to Point Bass and some of a little bit of interior shot and exterior shot of each of the buildings, so you know when you go over there that why did the Wakeleys come here, why do they stay here, and then what's here. So I think it's been missing in the past. People come there, and I'm sure Diane in the house, Tom in the cabin, people would say, well, what about the Wakeleys? Why is this house here? Because they had no background. Nobody knew anything. And when you go to most historic sites nowadays, they have a little video or they have something just to give you
introduction,
an introduction to ground you. And so I think it'll be helpful. And we'll tell our people that are working at the gate, if possible, for the people to go to the house first so they can actually see this. Schoolhouse, and then go across the creek after they've got a little better understanding. And also they don't forget the schoolhouse. The tendency is it's on top of the hill and you get busy, you got maybe 2 kids with you, and you've been going for 3 or 4 hours, and now you're coming back and the kids want to do one more thing, and mom and dad are kind of like, they're tired out and they want to go home and they jump in the car instead of going to the schoolhouse. So we think we get the schoolhouse first.
I think
We'll
that's a
get that
great idea.
resolved because a lot of the kids really enjoy the schoolhouse. And Tom and I have been amazed over the years, folks, and Tom will talk of it. These kids come back in the summer, usually with grandma and grandpa or something. And what do they say to you, Tom?
You're the guy from the cabin.
Yeah.
Or they'll bring mom and dad with them, or
Yeah.
couple. 3 generations is not unusual with us at all.
Right.
For people that come in and the kid will start telling about the furs or whatever that he learned when he was there during the school group, and that's the most gratifying part. That's our pay.
That's why
is
we're
when
doing
when
it,
they
yeah.
remember, or if you're walking down the street and the kid goes, "You're the guy from the cabin."
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that makes my day. I mean, it's just the way it is.
Do you ever get, Tom, 2 generations where you've got the parents and the kids? Now that we've been doing this for probably 20 years, do you get anybody to say
I think we're beginning to.
where the parents came and toured when they were
Yeah.
in 4th grade and now they're married and have children of their own? And
I think we're just getting into that because in the first years, we didn't do school groups right away.
no,
It was 10 times easier.
Yeah,
And they
well-
learned 50 times more.
well, and Tom had actually outreach until about 3 years ago.
Before, yeah.
Washington School.
yeah,
I was an
yeah,
outreach
yeah.
for you for years there, and then they actually came out to the site.
Yeah.
Well, part of the thought in the early years was we're going to go to the schools and give a presentation a little bit about the background, the Wakeleys and Pierre Chaudret, Tom's
Mm-hmm.
character, and then the kids would come out and they'd get it fleshed out,
Right.
filled out. But it's kind of hard to.
Oh,
This spring we got 12 or 13 school groups, and then if you had to go to 12 or 13 schools before that, I mean, you start running out of time after a
Yeah.
while.
And we put a lot of kids through there.
Yeah.
We had 1 day last week, 3 days this week, 3 days next week, and then I think it's 3 each week.
Right.
At least 3, right through up until June.
Well, and I heard from Doreen Hartchie is kind of our coordinator, that the Friday one is probably canceled.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, because it's going to be 43
And
and rain. So they're going to be looking for another day, and so I don't know what day there'll be, but we get that once in a while. Some years run the whole season. We never have rain out or anything, but that's unusual. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
could tell that from yesterday, folks. We're taping this on a Thursday, which I believe is the 10th.
Yeah.
And
It is.
yesterday was a rain day, if you remember, right? It rained, I think, probably 1.5 inches or whatever it was. So we have that sort of thing
But
going
we
on.
didn't have a school group yesterday.
No, that was fortunate.
Yeah.
That was fortunate. We got a school group today, and by the way, one of those 4th grade teachers, Kim Marshall,
Uh-huh.
from Washington School, who was retired, I think, last year,
Mm-hmm.
is interpreting the school today.
And we picked up another new school teacher who's still a substitute school teacher, lady brand new to the area. She heard about it from her 4th grade students
Really?
that she was subbing for in the morning at Nakusa, came out by us in the afternoon. She got a kind of a personal tour, and I think Doreen said she signed her up as a new school teacher.
Oh,
now.
wonderful.
I don't know, but I mean, she's still a semi-active school teacher. Her name escapes me, and that doesn't make any difference
Yeah.
anyway. But that's the kind of thing, volunteers are so important.
Yeah, and we can speak
just-
to that right now, Tom. Go ahead
Well,
and speak to that.
I mean, people that if you're interested or if you have a talent, or we have 2 or 3 guys that love carpentry and do very good at it.
Yes.
Mike and I are kind of storytellers. When talent comes to with our hands,
Tell us where to put the nail.
yeah, right. But there are other people that are very knowledgeable. Some of them don't want to reenact, and that's okay too.
Yes.
You can come and participate either as an uncostumed volunteer. There, thank you. Volunteer or whatever. There's a place. If you have an interest, we'll find a place for you.
Right.
It's just.
Just an example, I had a call from one of our members about Girl Scout groups. Well, I got one Girl Scout group coming out on one day. They're going to pick up trash. They're smaller kids, so I can't utilize them too many other things.
The service project kind of
Right.
thing, yeah.
And the other group, they're 10, 12, 14-year-olds. I'm going to have wash windows in the school and the house outside and inside. So, we're getting ready for major production and in our whole summer program, and plus we got the tail end of our schools, and it's a good service project for them, and it does a lot for us.
I wish I had windows in the cabin. You could wash mine.
Yeah. Maybe your glasses, right?
Yeah, they always need it, yeah.
But we should talk about, Tom, one thing that you've been instrumental in, and I think you brought it to us, is the cooking contest on Saturday, June 9th.
June 9th. The Cast Iron Chef Cooking Contest is back. It's never been gone. We were kind of wondering, but we're on. We run with it. The reenactors that are there, we encourage them to make a home cooked dish to serve to the public at 4:00. They sign up, and so that there's main dishes, there's breads and rolls, and there's dessert. And the judges for this contest are the public.
Oh, better way to do it, yeah.
Some folks at Lincoln High School and at Nakusa High School have made us some small ceramic bowls. And
you pay $5, you get to keep the bowl?
I think it's $6.
$6, and you get to keep the
you
bowl.
get to keep the bowl. You buy a bowl during the day from one of the stands there on the grounds.
Yes.
And then at 4:00 or just before, you show up there again. We go over by the cabin, and the turn in of the food, it's all, nobody knows
Do you have categories, Tom?
Yes. Main dishes, breads and rolls, and desserts.
Okay.
And you get to sample all of the dishes that were turned in, and then you judge, and whoever wins. We've got a trophy. It's
cast iron.
Yeah, it's a cast iron frying pan mounted on a plaque, and it's kind of really fun. And if you are a Dutch oven cooker, civilian visitor that likes to Dutch oven cook, if you want to, you can join the contest also. Bring your cast iron, bring your groceries. It has to be fresh food. You can't make it at home and bring it down there and just warm it up. That doesn't count. But
what is the starting time? 12?
12 to 4, yeah.
So you can start cooking at 12.
At 12. There are 2 large fire pits in the site where you could share that with other people if you wish. The campers, the reenactors that are there, usually cook in their own campsite. But for the public, if you wish to, there are 2 big fire pits that they could use, and then they can. There's no cost. I mean, you submit your dish, and it's judged, and whatever's left over from sometimes they eat all of the.
Well, I've seen that a few times where there wasn't much left except to scrape the pan.
Right, but then we take that over as part of our potluck
in the evening.
Later in the evening, and if you were to come as a participant from the public, I think we could most certainly invite them to come to our potluck because they may very well have won a prize, so they would certainly need to be there. But that's something we've had in the past, 1 or 2 different ones that have come, walk-ins that have come to join our contest, and if you'd like to.
You're certainly invited.
Yeah. I'm not sure if the rules are on the website, but if they aren't, we'll make sure they get there. We got a whole month now.
Right.
We can put that on the website so that you know just how it's going to work. And yeah.
Yeah. So that's a kind of fun thing in the. I guess it's tied together basically, Tom, with almost in a certain sense with your cast iron cooking class.
Yep.
Which some people come out of that and
then can come,
and participate at that point. Some people volunteer to interpret and do other things. So part of the component of Tom's cooking class is the service hours that they come and help the site, and we've got a lot of good people out of that.
September 22nd.
Yeah,
as long as we're good. This is a whole new subject now.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
So we don't get it confused with what we were just talking
Cooking
about.
contest. Yeah.
we're doing, we used to do a 4-week, 3-hour each week classes.
Started in September.
September went into October. This year, we've made it a 1-day workshop. And we've, rather than pioneer cooking, we're calling it campfire cooking workshop. And we're going to concentrate on cast iron, on some of it working in the house with the antique stove, which is probably people don't get a chance to do that much, but it's very interesting.
Yes.
We also do some primitive cooking where you don't use metal. You cook over the open fire in a very primitive method. And it'll be an all day, 9 to 4, the 22nd of September. Check out our website under workshops. There's already something there.
Can they register on
They can
site?
register online there on the website. This is not a big rush. I mean, don't get, I got to sign up tomorrow.
Right.
But
you could.
But you could. But by Labor Day or so would be a good time to, and you'll hear more about that on our programs as we get
Closer.
But
Yeah.
it's
It's a fun thing.
yes, and we're hoping that this 1-day event works out a lot. It's going to be a lot easier, I think, for people to be able to make the whole day.
Right. Well, you can imagine Barb's and my wife's in something, and then it was like 6 Thursdays. Well, they went 2, and now the third one they already have problems. So it's
Right.
one person can't make this. So the same thing with the cooking
Yeah.
class. 4 Tuesdays. Well, it used to be I can make 3, but I can't make this one, or
Yeah.
vice versa.
And then
so,
they miss a bunch, and
Yeah.
cheapers, you know.
Yeah, this will solidify all that in one day.
Yeah.
And I think it simplifies it for you a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
You spend some time up north, and you can spend a little more time up north. You don't have to come back once a week.
Well, and we only have to prepare once.
All right.
And that makes a big difference. It's easier for us to present, and we can do a better job of it
Right.
if we are well organized. You've got it out there once. You don't have to haul it all back home and then come back the next week and do it
Well,
again.
and Tom can talk about this cooking contest because he's kind of headed it up with the help, certainly, of a lot of
A
individuals.
whole bunch of people.
But it's like the iceberg. The class might be from 6 to 8 or something like that.
5 to 8, yeah.
But he comes in at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, get the fires going and everything else. So
When you do the earth oven, and Dave Schmidt and I each do a different rendition of that cooking in the ground thing, that's 8 hours.
yeah,
You start cooking 8 hours before you present.
yeah,
And
ties up a day, doesn't
that
it?
does. In fact, with this new one, that's going to be, Dave and I are going to be there about the time the sun comes up. But that's okay, because then we're there, that's cooking, and we can get everything laid out.
Yeah.
Life will be good.
And by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, that'll be done.
Oh,
probably.
yeah.
So another thing to look forward to, that's not in the box with the Point Bass Pioneer Festival.
That's the next, or one of the later things.
September 22nd, a later date, but we just got on the cooking contest and we went
We got to segue when we can.
segue when we can. But so Point Bass Pioneer Festival,
9th and 10th of June.
Saturday and Sunday, 10 to 5 on Saturday, 10 to 4 on Sunday. Welcome you down. $5 for adults, $2 for students. Student can be anybody from first grade through college. So, I mean, it's real reasonable. Also think about getting a membership when you come through, because it's a good time, because we're just getting started on the site. The only thing we've had is Sugar Bush, so you really haven't missed anything to speak of. Well, you've missed Sugar Bush. I shouldn't say it for all those people that work hard on Sugar Bush.
But it's only one event that you
Only one
missed.
event, but you got another 4 or 5 events after that, for a membership of $25 for a family, I think one of our members figured out you could save like $74 or $80. So it's, if you came with 4 people to each event
Yeah.
separately. So $74 or $80 is a lot of money. So think about a membership. They'll have those available at the booth where you come in, where you check in and pay your admission. And if you'd like to, I encourage you to look at a membership. It's great for us because then we got a mailing list and we can let you know of events coming up, things happening. The girls are doing sewing classes, craft classes, different times, and if you want to get involved in it, you can. If you don't, that's fine too. But that you'd be available, all that things to you, because you'll be much more connected to us. So that'd be a good time. So don't forget Point Bass Pioneer Festival, June 9th It's a Saturday, 10 to 5, and June 10th, 10 to 4. We welcome you all down there. And now we have a couple of videos we haven't quite finished, Tom, from the Home Show and Sugar Book
Okay.
Show. Watch, folks.
We'll take a look at those.
Hello! Today I'm working on a tabletop rug loom. The tabletop rug loom is a replica, and actually they would have had something this small back in the 1800s. At Historic Point Bass, we now have a barn loom. It was donated to us, and the barn loom is very large piece, so we're able to weave rugs on it. So we're anxious to get that started. Come out to Historic Point Bass and help us get that started, and you can even help us by weaving on that rug loom. So today we have the smaller version, and this is a 4 harness. We have 4 of these up here, so it's called a 4 harness. And what we do is we're going to raise 2 of the harnesses. You can see that forms a pocket in here. With that pocket, we are going to pass our shuttle right through this little hole that it made for us. With our shuttle, this is called a shuttle. Now we're going to reposition our fabric. Drop our harnesses. And we're going to use the beater bar, and we're going to put it into place. The harder that you use this, the tighter the weave. So when we use it, all of the sand or debris doesn't go through this. We want this very, very nice and tight. So let's try that again. We're going to form, the 2 other harnesses are up now, which forms our little area like this that'll hold our fabric in place. So we're going to take our shuttle again, and we're going to place it right through here. We're going to reposition our fabric and get it nice and tight.
You can't leave out too much of it.
That's pretty much all there is to this. So we invite you to come out to Historic Point Bass and to see our big rug loom, our barn loom it's called. And you'll see that the beater bar out there is actually dangling from the top of our rug loom. So we look forward to seeing you out there. Bye-bye. Want me to talk with this? All right.